So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Gravity Fall, so let's start the series. Greetings, I am Dipper Pines, the male half of the mystery twins from the village hidden by gravity. I am traveling with my slightly older sister Mabel on a mission that is especially noteworthy because it is our first mission that truly matters. Prior to this mission, we were sent to perform a number of rather routine tasks, such as grocery shopping, delivering packages to other villages nearby, and engaging in a few ninja battles along the way. You get the idea. However, this mission is significant because we are supposed to locate and capture the cipher host of the cipher beast. A cipher host is someone who has a piece of the cipher beast sealed inside them. The cipher beast has never heard of it, but it sounds intriguing, and I get the impression that it has nothing to do with the tailed beasts. It also makes me think that, even though it makes sense to refer to his host as a cipher host, I don't see much sense in it. I don't know why, but I feel like something is about to change, as if I will get something I have never seen before. Previously, it seemed to be something that shouldn't even exist in this universe, but I can't help but feel uneasy about this. After all, who knows what horrors might be unleashed if I do get something like that. I think I hear an explosion, Dipper, in a voice that is all too familiar. I slowly open my eyes to see a blurry figure carrying me away, and when my vision returns, I turn to see our sensei, Great Uncle Stan, and his two, we have to leave, acolytes Wendy and Seuss Dipper. I hear my vision fully return, and I see my sister carrying me off the battlefield. I'm not sure how long it will be before he breaks free, but we have to leave, so wake up. She places me on the ground, and I moan a little before turning to face her Abel. I ask my sister what happened, and she looked at me. We're trying to capture the cipher beast cipher host, but something went wrong, and now he's broken. All I can say is that we must leave this place before he kills us or something. Stan explained that those were orders from Mabel as she helped her brother get up. Then, another explosion occurs, and Gideon, now covered in light blue flames, flies up in the air and screams in agony as something that vaguely resembles a triangle angle emerges from him. A single spirit-like object emerges from it and immediately enters through my mouth, causing enough recoil to send me in the direction of a tree. I'm in a black void right now, but I know that this is always important, or at least something happens in it, so I shouldn't keep my guard down. I'll have a lot of fun with you, boy. I hear a demonic voice say, after me, as I fall unconscious again. I manage to see the thing coming out of Gideon breaking apart and shattering into pieces that fly up and scatter themselves out of this place inside Dipper's mind. A single eye surrounded by blue flames appears before I feel a terrible pain in my right eye back. Actually, when I wake up and look around, I see a normal Gideon lying around, our sensei and acolytes looking tired, and Gideon shouting, "No, my cipher beast," before turning to face us with a look of pure hatred. This is not the end, Dipper Pines. I will get that cipher beast back, and once I do, he looks at me strangely. Stan, Wendy and Seuss are shocked to see me, and I'm not sure why, but the Sharingan asks me, perplexing me, just before I can say or do anything. Other than that, I had a terrible pain in my lower abdomen, and I fell down and spat blood. My sister said, "Dipper," and then I passed out, worrying even more about her. No one's PA village hidden by gravity hospital room 618. Dipper eventually woke up and opened his left eye, but his right eye wouldn't open for some reason. He noticed that he was in a hospital room with a medical neem that looked like Sue by his side. "Good you're awake," Dipper said, before turning to greet his sister. "The good news is that the beast and the Genta split up, and you're fine and nearly healed." The bad news is that the cipher beast broke into pieces and scattered them all over the world, and one of them hit you, so it won't be easy to get them back. Additionally, Gideon is still at large. How long have I been sleeping? I asked Dipper, looking around. You've been sleeping for 15 years, I said to Mabel in a serious tone. Dipper was shocked and groaning in pain shortly after, and the girl looked down in regret. Sue reprimanded Sue, saying, "Don't worry, buddy. You've only been here for 3 hours, and I waited all those 3 hours here with you," added Mabel. Hey, everyone greeted Stan, asking how Dipper was doing. He's almost recovered completely, but he needs to stay here for another 5 minutes, Sue replied as the man approached the boy. I need to confirm something before I ask you. Dipper's Stan turned to Mabel, who looked at the man anxiously. It flew up and tried to separate itself from Gideon and broke into pieces. Yes, that's what it did. One of the pieces got inside Dipper and may have broken into pieces. It may have gone to find new hosts. The one piece that fell on Dipper could have caused him to panic. I have an idea for why it can't open, but Dipper must be completely recovered before we can test it, Stan said to Mabel. Now, Dipper, would you mind opening your right eye? It doesn't open. Dipper tried to open his eye to no avail, but it doesn't do anything, Stan said, closing his eyes and scratching his chin. What are you thinking, Grunkle? Stan asked. Once you recover and feel comfortable, come with me to the training. Stan walked to the door, turned around, and said, Trust me, I want to be wrong this time, in a straightforward stern tone, before leaving the twins exchanging glances. Shortly after, Wendy and Seuss were waiting outside the hospital for Stan to come out, leaving what they were doing and going to him. When they saw the old man, they asked Wendy how he was doing, and he replied, he's almost finished with his recuperation. Wendy and Seuss lightened up in unison, correct? Before Stan resumed, he was unable to open his right eye, which gave me a reason why I don't think he asked Seuss. I hope he didn't interrupt the elderly man, who was staring back at the student with a worried expression on his face. If he didn't, the boy would become very dangerous. Stan left the hospital and walked home, Wendy and Seuss following him. A short while later, Dipper and Mabel, who were both fully recovered, were walking to their great-uncle's house. Earning numerous irate looks from the local villagers as they went by, or at least Dipper was receiving them, some even threw trash at him, but this only momentarily irritated the boy. Why is everyone so hostile today? Mabel asked, clearing the trash from her brother's hair. I don't know, but hopefully when we get to Stan he'll take us somewhere far away from here, she said. Shortly after that, Dipper was struck by another paper ball. The twins then found the house and entered, where they saw, Hello Grunkle, Stan said loudly as he sat at the table with a cup of coffee. So about that thing you mentioned earlier at the hospital, follow me to the training grounds, Stan said, taking a sip of his coffee and making sure to bring some good stocks because anything could happen there. With that, Stan got up and went upstairs, where the twins exchanged glances and shrugged before heading to the training grounds. Went to a lake close to the entrance to the deeper area of the forest, known as the Kia Woods, which was named that because it is a cemetery for those who perished there. Stan pointed to the shallow lake, which is relatively shallow, so there isn't much danger if you fail. Mabel told him to go with a wink, and Dipper went to the water and attempted to balance his chakra. Thinking he had done it, he entered the lake. The water and fell into the shallow river almost immediately, but he persisted and kept trying until he was able to step onto the water without falling. He kept walking until he reached the center of the river, not far from his sister and great-uncle. Now, focus a little more until you feel a little funny, open your left eye, and look down. Stan dipped, obeyed, and focused more of his chakra, feeling a slight pain in his left eye that got worse as he kept on. I have the Sharingan, but how amazing! I thought only the members of the Uchiha clan were able to get it and that it was supposed to be obtained from intense pain or a near-death experience, said Mabel in awe, and then he was confused at the third part. He opened it and looked down to see a primary stage Sharingan pupil. The Sharingan asked Dipper in shock at seeing his reflection, and the Sharingan turned back into a normal pupil as the boy lost some of his chakra concentration. The Sharingan, and it's incredible, but try opening your right eye, Stan said. According to your balanced chakra, you might be able to open the eye. I don't understand how that should make sense, but then again, my brother's Sharingan doesn't make sense either, so go. Dipper cheered Mabel up and raised her left arm. The boy focused even more, opening his right eye, and looking down, he saw that his pupil and iris had completely vanished, leaving no trace. He was still able to see normally, but this one was received with shock from the trio. Dipper was so shocked that he lost his focus and fell to the water, which is exactly what I feared. Dipper had become one of the hosts for the Cypher Beast, said Stan in a serious tone. Mabel gasped in shock before you resumed, which is why everyone was acting hostilely toward you today. We can remove it right now, stuttered Mabel to her great-uncle, who frowned at her. Please let me know if it is reversible, because I'm afraid it's not. Mabel. A Cypher host's piece of the Cypher Beast is to be torn off by another Cypher host, explained Stan. Mabel, who cringed as she heard it. The Cypher host will then take the piece for themselves and become stronger with the Cypher Beast and Dipper, but when the two turned around to see the boy, he had vanished without a trace. I should have seen this coming, Stan said just before sensing something approaching. Oh no, Mabel, can you feel that? For some reason I can too. Cypher hosts. The Cypher hosts looked down and laughed as they ran to the Kia's woods. Mabel called Wendy and Seuss, but before they could do that, they ordered Stan to run in the direction the two figures were going. Mabel complied and left the area. Inside the Kia's woods, Dipper was walking along the dark paths of the forest, ignoring the numerous glowing eyes that came from the bushes and the sky. When he reached a lake, he sat at the shore and threw some rocks nearby, but this didn't make him feel any better. As it happens, I accompanied the team on the first mission I ever completed that truly mattered. Now, I am the new host for a piece of the Cypher Beast, and worst of all, I have to become a missing mean to ensure that everyone is safe from me. As Dipper threw another rock, this time so hard that it struck a tree across the lake, the boy heard the laughter of the two Cypher hosts from earlier, and they soon arrived near him. I just had to open my mouth, didn't I? Dipper pulled a kunai out of his pouch, and then he remembered something crucial. Wait, my Sharingan. Dipper focused his chakra and turned on his Sharingan, opening his eyes to see the chakra the two girls had. It was a light blue chakra that looked like a familiar thing, the Cypher Beast. You're Cypher hosts, aren't you, Dipper? Well, glance at that candy, we got a. I can see that Greena, but I doubt he's smart enough to realize just how hopeless his situation is, said the smart one here in a demonic tone. Look, little boy, we are far more powerful than you think we are, and seeing you haven't unlocked your connection with the beast himself yet, you're no match for us. How about you hand over your piece of the Cypher Beast and we'll make sure we leave you barely alive? As if I'm going to hand you anything, retorted. You'll have to take it from my dead body, Dipper said in a stern tone. But wait, what did I just say? Candy and Greena laughed together, and their laughter reverberated through the forest for a while before they spoke again. "Well, if you won't hand it over willingly," Dipper said, clutching his kunai and narrowing his eyes in response. Mabel and Stan were in the Hidden Leaf Village, not to deliver a message or any sort of mission, but simply strolling around the village. Mabel, who had unknowingly split up from her brother and Stan, went to a nearby ramen shop and grabbed a pair of frying pans and struck them. When she got close to Ramen Ichiraku, a local ramen shop, the locals of Hidden Leah called Mabel, grabbing everyone's attention, especially Naruto. Mabel Pines from Hidden Gravity challenged Naruto Uzumaki to a ramen eating contest. Everyone gasped in surprise, and Naruto appeared taken aback by the unexpected dare. And Stan, who was close by, reacted horrified. However, Stan maintained his composed demeanor and approached the girl, grabbing her and dragging her to an alley to chastise her for her carelessness. "Mabel, do you even know what you're doing?" Dipper asked with a worried frown. "Remember the stories about this guy's big appetite, especially about ramen?" "You have no chance, don't worry, Dipper. I have trained all week long," he explained, patting his brother's head. "From missions and eating them as quickly as I could, and I think I'm just as quick at eating them as Naruto." "You?" asked Stan, who heard everything. Mabel chuckled apprehensively before she heard someone turn to face Naruto Uzumaki, who was grinning broadly. "I accept your challenge," said Naruto Ramen Ichiraku. Both Mabel and Naruto had taken their seats with their respective audiences by their sides. Mabel had Dipper and Stan beside her, and Naruto had Hinata waving a small flag with "Go." Naruto was written on it, Sakura was doing nothing, and Kakashi was hoping that his wallet would cover the cost after the competition was over. The contest goes like this: the contest winner is the one who consumes the most bowls in 30 minutes. Both contestants exchange determined glances with the man behind the counter, and they immediately begin eating their first bowls of ramen. Mabel and Naruto gobble them up as quickly as they can, until they. As the competition went on and the competitors ate, Stan said, "I'm not going to pay a single cent for this," as he watched the bowls gather. After saying that, Mabel and Naruto struck the table, slightly shaking the towers made of the bowls they ate with their fists, and glared at one another with determined expressions. It didn't take long for their faces to turn green and they developed sick looks, so they hurried out of the restaurant and went to some bushes. Eli Lilly throwing up while everyone watched. Expressions of surprise or disappointment. Well, they did eat 30 bowls of ramen in 30 minutes. Shrugged Dipper. "I counted 34," eyed Hinata. After they finished vomiting, Mabel and Naruto, both of whom were still feeling a little queasy, emerged from the bushes and approached everyone who had one. They exchanged angry glares in unison when they realized that the others turned to the restaurant. Mabel and Naruto exchanged growls and were facing them, and they both said, "It's a draw." The day that Naruto and Mabel's rivalry began, when Kakashi and Stan's wallets died and went to wallet heaven, where it was forbidden to challenge Naruto or Mabel to any food-related contest. A huge explosion occurred. Dipper emerged completely unharmed, but neither did Granda, who was running after the boy and throwing her enormous shuriken towards him in the hopes of striking him. The two turned to everyone with shocked looks before fainting in either horror or shock. Dipper, who was hiding inside a tree, watched as he used the flying swallow technique on his kunai. At first, the boy went unnoticed as the two girls looked around, but it didn't take long for him to get stuck on a tree with a thick trunk. Granda moved to the tree and removed her shuriken from it, groaning in frustration as she saw that the boy had vanished. The girl then walked to Candy. Long before Candy turned to the tree with a demon grin, Dipper was startled and got out of the tree. Just as Candy was about to do a dragon plus tiger plus hair combination water release, water began to flow from the girl's mouth, intensifying her attack by at least 100 times. The tree eventually tore off from the ground, and Dipper barely avoided being crushed by it as it fell near him. How did that happen? It's simply impossible for anyone to understand. I'm in your head, little fool. Dipper just kept searching for the source of the voice while avoiding Candy's and jutsus and parrying with Grina. You know the cipher beast, and before he could react, Grenda punched him, and the boy got up. Ninjas making an attack as intense as that thought. Dipper was looking back at the girls and remembering their light blue chakras, and that's it. They must be using the cipher beast's chakra. Candy laughed and then quickly used the tiger hand seal hiding in mist technique, which caused the entire place to cover in mist. Shortly after, Candy and Grenda both started laughing uncontrollably as their silhouettes vanished from view. Dipper's Sharingan also deactivated the boy, who got up and realized how troubled he was when he looked around and thought, "Damn it, I can't use my Sharingan with this mist." Dipper gripped his kunai as he felt Candy and Grenda approaching, and he needed to dissipate it some. At that moment, Grenda's hands. When the girl pulled out a kunai covered in electricity, Dipper narrowed his eyes and he and Grina battled it out with equal force. Candy then made another jutsu water release gunshot Candy, which required some chakra and turned into water. Dipper then leaped high to release a water ball the size of a meteorite. Grina left Dipper alone, who turned around and could only look concerned as the gunshot struck him. Sending the boy to a tree now, that's just cheap, Dipper complained as he got up to do the hair plus bird combo hand seal. A short while later, a wind release caused the mist to dissipate, and Dipper spun for a few minutes before a huge tornado formed, which somehow dispersed the mist. Dipper was too dizzy to notice Grina running towards him and grabbing his leg, and then she threw the boy to another tree and Candy as he attempted and failed to get up in time to perform this. Candy asked Grina if she was ready as usual, and Grina replied, "Candy." The girl then performed a lightning-fast hand-seal combination, and Dipper couldn't figure out what the seals were doing until she fell down once more. Storm released the eternal dragon of water and thunder, and a huge volume of water from the nearby lake suddenly rose and took the shape of a dragon. Grina raised her hands and shot some electricity at it as the sky began to cloud and a few lightning bolted out of the dragon that struck some trees. Granda lowered her hands to the ground. Then a pair of electrical chains emerged from the ground, binding Dipper as the dragon charged at him with great speed. The boy closed his eyes and waited for the inevitable earth release, but then a massive earth wall appeared out of the ground in front of him. The dragon crashed into it, barely cracking it, and the boy opened his eyes to see the teenage figure who had built the earth wall. Wendy's figure asked Dipper, who was truly shocked by the girl's arrival. "Fortunately, I arrived in time." Granda took her hands off the ground and stripped Dipper of the chains that were holding him. Candy quickly formed an ox, horse, and ram combo with a determined and irritated look. When she heard that, she grabbed Dipper and hurried away before Candy shot large ice darts out of her mouth in the direction of the earth style. Shortly after the wall collapsed, the two girls snarled when they saw Wendy standing there, but without Dipper by her side. "Now you're going to mess with me. Where is the cipher?" the host asked in a mocking tone. "Come closer," to which Candy replied, "Come closer." Wendy smiled smugly, exchanging a bewildered look with the girl, and Candy approached her as she placed her hands on her back and began a hand-seal combination. The girl stopped closer, growling in frustration. Wendy crouching and slowly leaning to the girl's ear, she raised one arm to reveal that it was now covered in rock candy. She could only gasp in shock before being punched by the teenager's rock-encased arm, sending her flying unconscious to her friend Grenda. She caught Candy just as she fell, giving the teenager a furious glare as she put her friend down. After she finished the combination, she was literally facing the teenager. When Dipper woke up, he saw his sister Mabel and Seuss by his side. Seuss was somehow forming water while Mabel was holding Dipper's hand. "Calm down, Dipper. Seuss will take care of your injuries." "So I call it water release, water of life," Seuss said before approaching Dipper and giving him the water. "There you go, Dipster." The boy took a sip from the water and waited for a moment because he was feeling. After a brief wait, his injuries are largely going away. "Hey, I'm feeling better now." I'm happy to hear that the boy turned to see Stan walking to him. "Seuss here practiced this technique for weeks, so you should thank him." "Yeah, you're right, thanks, Seuss." "No biggie, Dipper. As long as your injuries are healed, I'm happy." When Dipper tried to get up but fell again, I asked him, "Why did you all come?" "You may be a cipher host, but you're also a member of this team, my brother, and this family. Explain to Mabel that we couldn't just leave you to die with those two psychopath cipher hosts. Now, take a break and we'll figure out what to do about your cipher host status." Seuss, while making the "yes sir" gesture, received a laugh from the girl. Then, before they left with Stan back with Candy, Granda and Wendy were berating Candy and Granda with her earth jutsus. Also avoiding Granda's lightning attacks, but as she was hiding Granda, the girl smiled and somehow teleported out of sight, kicking the teenager's back so forcefully that she flew to a tree. Wendy was unable to recover in time and hit the tree, falling to the ground instantly. Mabel and Stan arrived to help the girl get up after she fell, asking, "Is he okay?" The two nodded and smiled in response, "Thank goodness, look at that Candy." The rest of that cipher host's friends arrived. Grina mockingly remarked, "That's quite odd," which caused the two to glare at her. "I'm rather puzzled by them being here too," Grina replied, Candy, laughing. "You messed with my nephew, now you'll mess with all of us," Team Mystery said, with Stan clenching his fists. "The only way you'll be able to get to him now is to go through our dead bodies that can be arranged back with Dipper and Seuss." Dipper looked sad about his current state and continued to rest while Seuss used a pair of binoculars to watch the fight wail. "Dude, it appears that the bottle is intensifying." Seuss is passing the popcorn to Dipper, saying, "You want some or a pair of binoculars?" The boy just nodded, but the popcorn was taken away from him before he decided to rest for a minute. When he heard the poop, he looked around for the source, but he couldn't find anything but Seuss with popcorn. Dipper shrugged and went back to sleep. Dipper quickly realized who it was. The boy turned to see a single eye opening in the darkness. It was me, the cipher beast. The beast revealed its body, and the cage it was in was illuminated by the light blue flames covering his body. The beast grinned as it continued to talk to the boy, who didn't hide the fact that he wasn't happy to see him again. "You need my help, do you realize that, and why?" Asking Dipper to cross his arms and turn away from the beast, I asked if I would need your assistance. "Only another cipher host can take one of my pieces from another cipher host's body, and unless any of your friends have a suitable replacement, which doesn't exist, the cipher hosts will escape and continue their rampage. If you want them to survive or ensure that those cipher hosts don't do any more damage, you'll need to come to an agreement with me. Besides, it's not like I'm any stronger than those two girls, so you are the prime cipher host, lad, and the only sensual part of me is the mind, the main body. The other parts are mindless and only want to destroy. Of course, if you make a deal with me, you will gain power beyond your comprehension, a chakra that rivals that of a tailed beast, and most importantly, the ability to protect the people you care about. However, he still didn't think the cipher beast. Dipper considered the offer, scratching his. The beats extended his hand, or at least his index finger, to the boy. He hesitated for a moment before sealing the deal with the finger still confused as the beast began to laugh and your body realized what had just happened. What do you want for the deal? Dipper asked, turning back to the beast, who smiled. I get the feeling you want me to give you something in exchange. What I want is to make the deal. With that said and done. The light blue chakra caused Dipper's eyes to change from being blank on the right and normal on the left to having rectangular pupils. In reality, some electricity surrounded Dipper when he woke up, drawing Seuss's attention. Dipper asked the man, who was unaware of the boy's eyes, that Stan, Mabel, Wendy, Candy, and Granda were going to fight when a huge explosion was heard. The three of them turned around in curiosity, and the two cipher hosts had terrified expressions on their faces. The two cipher hosts fled, and the team turned around again, looking bewildered. From the woods, a shadowy figure with a ghastly smile and a gleaming triangle on his back emerged. Seuss, who appeared to be severely beaten, went to the trio of guys and said, "You have to get out before he beats you like he beat me," warning Seuss in a terrified tone while pointing at the figure. "But who is he?" Wendy asked the figure. "It's been so damn long since I had a body like this, the chakra, the wind, the elements, it's like I was a physical being all over again." Dipper began to laugh hysterically as his voice eventually distorted until it sounded just like the cipher beast's voice, calming down for a moment. Moving forward, the shadows covering it vanished to reveal Dipper with a third eye on his forehead and a rectangular. Other than that, he didn't look all that different. Before turning to Candy, Granda had a startlingly happy expression on his face. "Now, who wants to be the first cipher host to have their piece taken out?" Looking at the two cipher hosts running for their lives from a distance, Cipher Dipper ran towards them, leaving light blue after images. Stan asked Mabel in a worried tone, "What happened to Dipper?" "He made a deal with the cipher beast, who explained that something bad had happened." Mabel was afraid of the response, so Cipher Dipper caught both girls repeatedly hitting them with such a. As Cipher Dipper approached Candy and Greena, the rest of the team couldn't tell what was going on because they were both looking like they were about to die, with blood streaming from their mouths and noses. "This is just the beginning," Stan said. "Yes, it is something bad." From there, the team witnessed the horrifying scene of Cipher Dipper tearing off two shuriken-shaped orbs that were surrounded by light blue flames, most likely the cipher pieces they. Additionally, they returned to normal as their eyes were shown to restore the pupils before collapsing. Then, the two shuriken objects turned white and transformed into liquid, which entered the boy's skin as he laughed maniacally. Cipher Dipper's appearance changed once more, this time appearing as the outline of a top hat made of light blue flames on top of his head, his fingernails sharpened until they resembled fangs, and a portion of his skin was torn. As Cipher Dipper was still laughing, Stan approached him and slapped him on the back of his head, knocking him unconscious and turning off the cipher mode. "Okay, this is just something I got to ask. How did you manage to do that?" Mabel exclaimed, stunned by what had just transpired. Stan turned to show the girl his palm, where a tattoo of a pyramid with a single eye in it was visible. "Is that the cipher seal?" asked Wendy as she and Seuss went to the two pines. "Yes, it's something that all members of the U-Mackerel unit receive, and it never fades." Stan then turned to face the unconscious Dipper, which is fortunate because I couldn't have stopped him otherwise. Stan narrowed his eyes before turning to face Wendy and Seuss, saying, "Wendy, Seuss, take those girls to the hospital. We need to find out where they came from." "Yes, sir," Stan said, and the two of them ran to the girls, grabbed them, and leaped back to. Stan received a hesitant nod from the village Mabel, who helped him carry your brother back to the house. The boy was lifted with Mabel's assistance, and he quickly returned to hidden gravity. Shortly after that, Dipper was in Mabel's room, recovering consciousness. Dipper slowly opened his eyes, his blurry vision gradually fading away to reveal that he and Mabel were in their room, with Grunkle by his side. "What happened?" Dipper was asked. "You made a deal with the cipher beast. It possessed your body." Went nuts for a while quickly. The three of them turned to see Wendy and Seuss waiting by the door for a moment before Stan broke the silence. "What happened to the girls?" "Well, they recovered pretty quickly, especially since the cipher pieces were torn from them not too long ago." Stan Dipper raised his eyebrow in confusion, but fortunately I was able to use the seal on my hand. "Oh right, you were part of the Macro U unit. That was quite unexpected," Dipper said before recalling about Candy and Grenda. Answered Seuss, "and we were able to ask them a few questions before we took them home." "Well, what did they tell you?" "Stan, the raven-haired one, is a medical neen from this village, but her red-headed friend is a Chunin from Hidden Cloud. She explained to Wendy that she was supposed to spend the night with her friend before they were hit by the cipher pieces. Wendy crossed her arms before we resumed, but she only cooperated once her friend joined us. At least the cipher pieces were taken out of them," Mabel said, scratching her head when she realized something. "However, now that we've brought it up, I don't know what happened to the pieces. I know they turned white, then turned into liquid, and somehow made their way inside Dipper, but I still don't know what happened." In this case, Stan said that once the prime cipher host, Dipper, takes the cipher pieces from other cipher hosts, the pieces will be added to his own, and the cipher beast will regain more of its power. Pieces, and why does Dipper's appearance change? Is there a limit? As long as there are cipher pieces, the process has no known end, and the pieces will be assimilated. What we need to know, though, is how many pieces the cipher beast broke off. Do you remember anything about that, Dipper? I can't really answer. Dipper then felt excruciating pain as he transformed into Cipher Dipper, his voice instantly changing into the cipher beasts. However, as Cipher Dipper left, everyone narrowed their eyes and took out their kunai. "Calm down, little ninjas. All I can do right now is respond to your question. I can't do anything else. Here's the answer. I broke myself in 17 pieces, including yours truly, before getting back to normal with the lovely addition of a headache. I detest it when he does that with the prime piece and the other two Dipper G pieces, leaving us with 14 pieces to find. Yes, sir, we must now rest and return to our homes to ensure a restful night's sleep." Wendy and Seuss then leaped through the window to their homes, Stan leaving the room, and Mabel remained by her brother's side until nightfall. Later that night, the twins were sleeping soundly, or at least Mabel was, when Dipper silently moaned and clutched the top of his head in agony as he felt a voice reverberating on his head, growing louder and louder. The boy woke up, but remained motionless. Heard the voice rising and turning to face the window, where a mysterious black hooded female figure appeared. The figure's two eyes were open, revealing what appeared to be Bakugan and Rinnegan, and on top of the hood were what appeared to be horns. The figure was causing the boys great pain, telling them to leave as quickly as possible and never to return. The boy practically screamed in agony and fell out of his bed at that shout. The hooded woman's voice echoed in the boy's mind as she said, "Leave the village or all you care about will suffer." Mabel woke up from the scream, got out of bed, and ran to her brother Dipper, who was in agony. The boy, who was still deaf, was unable to hear her because he was still deaf. When he finally recovered his hearing, Dipper opened his eyes and saw his sister slapping him in desperation to wake him up. Dipper told me what had happened. I need to leave and never return here, but Dipper, think about what you're doing. If you leave the village with no intention of returning, you'll be marked as a missing Neen, and the Ombo will try to destroy you. Mabel stopped, saying, "I'm in enough pain already, and I don't know what exactly happened. I saw a figure outside that told me that I should leave if I don't want everything I care to be hurt." The boy paused for a minute before getting up and changing into his usual training clothes. As she went on, she shook her brother back and forth. She also said, "Just think, what will everyone think if you leave the village?" Dipper was a little busy trying to regain his vision after being shaken repeatedly. When he finally did, however, he saw his own sister crying. She was doing her best not to cry. "The team wouldn't be the same without you, and I wouldn't be the same without you." Before continuing, Mabel took her brother's hand and gave him a genuine worried look. "A minute or two so we can talk about what to do with your identity as a cipher host, okay? I'm sorry, Mabel, there's just no other way. Don't even consider finishing that sentence," scolded Mabel, whose sadness turned to determination as she looked into Dipper's eyes. Dipper looked into my eyes and repeated after me, "There's another way." Her brother looked down with a worried expression on his face, and there was dead silence. "There's no way out of this. I'm not your typical cipher host, I'm the prime cipher host, the host of the only sensuous part left of the cipher beast, the most powerful and craziest of the pieces." To be precise, Dipper just closed his eyes and nodded no in response. Before the girl had even finished opening his eyes again, the boy had whispered quietly, "There's no other way," and he looked at her with a sad expression on his face before continuing. "Always know that because the cipher beast is so unpredictable, he could try to control my body again and I wouldn't even notice. Just think of the suffering I would cause to you, Stan, the team, and the village." Mabel covered her ears, wanting to stop her brother from saying such things. "That's why I have to leave, so that everyone is safe from me." With that, Dipper went through the window, giving his sister one last look before leaving and jumping through the roofs. Mabel looked down with a dejected expression, just like Stan. Arriving after hearing the scream from his room, Mabel asked what had happened, and the girl slowly turned to her grunkle and said, "He left with a look of complete grief at the forest." Dipper's sight did not last long, but as soon as he heard something approaching right in front of him, he saw the hooded figure from before reappear in front of him. "Who are you, and why does your voice hurt me when I hear it?" Dipper covered his ears and asked, "My identity is not important yet, so find a place to stay for the night and then I'll tell you what to do next." Dipper turned away from the figure, who approached the boy and knelt down, pulling his face towards him so that the two could face each other. "It's for the greater good and for all you care about," he said. The boy then started looking for In his new home, he searched for a shortcut to the closest mountains or caves, but he was only able to see trees and bushes. Then, he heard a wolf growling, and several of them emerged from the shadows. Dipper rolled his eyes and pulled out his kunai wolves. "I hate wolves," the boy said, narrowing his gaze as the wolves approached, but just as they were about to attack, two loud howls were heard, and a huge shadow covered the boy and the wolves. When the boy turned around in response, they saw a huge golden wolf with two heads that were both staring down at the smaller wolves with fiery red eyes and a ghost glare. The wolf roared at the wolves with such force that, had the boy not grabbed onto a nearby rock, they would have been sent flying back to the forest. Once the wolf stopped, the wolves whined and fled as quickly as they could. The boy looked between them and the two-headed wolf in awe. Smiling, it turned completely white before shrinking and splitting into two beings about Dipper size. The two beings were a blonde girl with hair as long as or possibly longer than his sister's, a yellow Neenkin dog with a red collar, and a lavender shirt with the sleeves torn and the stomach portion torn off, exposing her midriff. She was also wearing white pants with black kneecaps and a purple trench coat without sleeves. You should be more cautious around the forests at night, but I have to ask why you are here in the first place. I'm going to turn into a missing meme because I have the only central piece of the infamous cipher beast inside of me, making me the prime cipher host. Marks, hey buddy, were those wolves messing with you? If so, you should at least thank me. Dipper looked dumbfounded as the blonde girl got off the golden dog and walked to him, helping the boy get up before continuing. In any case, the girl helped the boy get up without trying to hide the fact that she didn't care. What's your name, Dipper Pines? Before responding, the girl and Dipper both climbed on top of the dog, which was named Pacifica Northwest. However, most people in Isuka know me better as Pacifica. Hey, how about I let you stay at my cottage for a night or two? There isn't anywhere safe nearby, so you can't say no before the boy says anything. The dog began to run back to the girl's cottage, Dipper screaming as Pacifica. Following their departure, a AU member wearing a cat mask emerged from the shadows and pulled out a walkie-talkie. I believe I have located him. I will follow the Prime Cipher host and his acolyte and report their sight to you once I arrive at Pacifica's cottage. When they did, Pacifica was frightened. Dipper gripped her waist tightly, got off her dog, and walked to the door, turning to face the boy before doing anything else. Don't worry, we already got off Kinoko. Looked around, let go of Pacifica with trepidation, and laughed as the two entered the cottage. Dipper noticed that there was nothing unusual about the cottage. It had two closed windows, a carpet, and two beds, one for Pacifica's Neenkin and another for humans. It's not fancy, but it's better than nothing, Pacifica said before pointing to the bed, saying, you sleep over there, and I'll sleep with Kinoko. Pacifica and her golden dog walked to a dog bed. Going there first, the girls soon joined him, and after he fell asleep, Dipper went to the bed and looked at Pacifica before getting inside. He watched the girl until she gave him an angry look and told him to stay there and sleep because he didn't want to irritate her. Dipper tucked himself in and fell asleep, and Pacifica gave the sleeping boy a happy smile before continuing to sleep outside the U member from before arriving at the cottage and looking through a window at the sleeping. Once Dipper and Pacifica saw that he had removed his mask to reveal that he was a man in his 20s with short brown hair and black almond-shaped eyes, he pulled out his walkie-talkie and walked a safe distance away from the cottage, giving it a quick glance before turning it on. Yamato, I have found the Prime Cipher host's site. He's in a cottage on the forest near Hidden Gravity. I told Yamato to turn on his walkie-talkie. He has an acolyte, an adopted member of the Inazuka clan Pacifica Northwest. Bring in a group of soldiers for when they decide to oppose copying Yamato. The sun rose high in the sky, birds began to sing, and a rooster could be heard in the distance from the cottage where Pacifica and Dipper lived. Dipper slowly opened his eyes, got up, and yawned widely before stretching. Pacifica said, "Good morning," as he got out of bed. The girl opened her eyes and yawned, followed shortly after by her dog. Dipper responded, "Good morning," as Pacifica got off her and her nins. "I'm the prime cipher host, so a lot of people could come after me." Pacifica rolled her eyes and went to the table where she placed herself in Dipper's bowl of cereal before she answered the boy's question. "What do you want to eat for breakfast?" "Anything will be fine, but I'm actually curious, why aren't you more worried about me living with you?" Pacifica said. "Dipper, relax. I know exactly what to do if you're ever found okay." A member of the Inuzuka clan, the clan that took me in when I was younger, asked Pacifica to take out a picture and give it to Dipper. Dipper looked at the picture, but it didn't take long for him to hear something or someone approaching. "Did you hear that before anything else happened?" "I'll be honest, I have nothing, but I can always improvise," assured the blonde. "After all, I'm always being chased by Keba when I get myself into trouble, and I always manage to get away from punishment." Broken open by an ambush agent wearing a snake mask. No one moved, so the agent was told to stay motionless and hand over the prime cipher host. "This will save us a lot of trouble, so don't try any of your escape plans, Pacifica and Isuka." The two turned to see another ambush agent at the door, one with long reddish hair and a cat mask, another with short hair and a shark mask, and a third who came through the same door as the snake mask. "I have taken precautions." The next scene shows at least 100 frozen kanai in midair, all aimed at the cottage. Outside the cottage, Dipper gulped and turned to face the blonde girl, Pacifica. "Grab your dog and get out of here," she said, but just do it not in response. Instead, Pacifica walked to her dog, got on top of her, and gave Dipper one last look before the two left the house. Fortunately, the Ombo didn't bother to pursue the girl. The boy remained Dipper, and then the snake-masked Ombo agent approached him. They exchanged glares for a while, and I surrendered. The U agents took a minute or more to process what had happened, their shocked expressions concealed by their masks. "All right," the snake-masked agent spoke, still unsure of what had happened, and captured him from outside the cottage. Pacifica had witnessed everything, and she hid in the bushes with a look that conveyed both shock and confusion. When Kino saw the agents emerge with Dipper, she peered out to see the snake-masked agent knocking out the boy and telling the other three to carry him before they left. Shortly after, some familiar faces appeared. In fact, everyone went inside and began searching for Dipper, who was clearly unaware that he had already left with the other agents. Pacifica soon followed, seeing the ambush agents inspecting every area of the cottage. Once she was inside, she saw Captain Yamato, the prime cipher host. "We're members of the Anu, and we came here to take the prime cipher host with us for an interrogation, but as we can plainly see, he's nowhere to be seen. I told one of the agents to Yamato, I don't understand it, and he was here yesterday." "Yamato, who are you?" Pacifica Yamato and the other you asked, turning to see the girl who walked to them. Once the two saw each other face to face, "Hey, you're his acolyte, aren't you? You need to ask me that snake-masked agent of yours and his friends took him." "What are you talking about? We never sent anyone wearing a snake mask." He realized right away, to his horror, what this implied. "Who were those people who impersonated you?" They asked Pacifica, but instead of responding, Yamato and the other U agents left Pacifica in close pursuit. "Hey, you didn't answer my question," she complained. "There's no time to explain, boy. We have to get to your..." Pacifica gave Yamato a worried look before putting a determined expression on her face as she continued to follow the Anua and Yamato as they began their search for hidden gravity at Stan's house. Wendy, Seuss and Mabel were in the kitchen, briefly explaining to everyone what had happened the night before. "Friend, before it's too late," replied Yamato, "trust us, whatever those imposters are going to do with him will be far worse than anything we could think of," she said. He thought it was for the best since he was the prime cipher host and all, but that doesn't make me any less concerned about him. In fact, it makes me even more concerned. What if one of the Ambu got him? The question was never answered as everyone in the area heard some breaking news about the cipher beast, so they walked to the TV and saw a reporter who looked like Chandra Himmen's talking. He left the village after hearing a feminine figure tell him to, and become a missing neen so that we're safe. About the recent sightings of red and blue cipher pieces, they were seen going to the following locations: Hidden Cloud, Corduroy Clan, and an unidentified desert. It is advised that if you are in the vicinity, find a hiding place and call you in any way you can so that they can handle the situation. That's all for now. This is Chandra Himmen's on Ninja News. After that, Stan turned off the TV and turned around to see Wendy with A. Wendy ran and jumped through the window, looking at the others and saying, "Sorry, Stan. I got to go. I'm not going to stay here and let that piece of that beast do something to my clan before leaving. I'll go to Hidden Cloud, they'll probably need the help," Sue said, walking to the door and opening it. Mabel looked confused, and Seuss looked horrified. "When do we have TV?" she asked, "because when do we have TV? For example, when a random cipher piece lands here or Gideon reappears before leaving and shutting the door." Mabel and Stan exchanged anxious glances before hearing an explosion outside. When they emerged, they discovered a red cipher piece lying on a crater, and the rest of the hidden gravity community was staring in disbelief. Mabel and Stan approached the cipher piece and stared at it for a moment before Mabel reached for it. "I suppose we should grab it," she said. Was stopped by Stan, who took the girl's hand and pulled it away from the cipher piece. "Mabel, don't even touch it because that will cause the cipher piece to take control of your body," the old man explained. "Fortunately, that effect can be negated with my left hand tattoo, so let me handle this, okay?" Mabel nodded, and Stan was able to approach the piece using the tattoo on his hand to somehow tame the glowing energy that surrounded it. When it finally calmed down, Stan slowly reached for it before it was grabbed by an invisible force. A shadowy figure climbed onto one of the buildings, its cloak blowing in the wind as it attempted to flee, but Stan swiftly caught up to him and knocked him down with a single blow. Mabel went to the figure and grabbed the piece of cipher, but it took the figure a moment to regain consciousness and strike the girl Gideon. The figure then took off the hoodie covering his face, revealing himself to be Jeed and gleeful. Stanford mockingly praised Gideon as he pulled out the red cipher piece. "Jeed Inden, I should have known you would return," Stan exclaimed as he fell to the ground. "Now, if you excuse me, there are some more pieces I have to." Before he could finish, his cipher piece was struck by a kick that was strong enough to send it flying far away from the village. The boy looked shocked for what seemed like 2 seconds before he became irate. Down to see Mabel looking smug as she assumed a battle stance. In response, Gideon narrowed his eyes and raised his arms, which were covered in light red flames. "You're going to regret messing with me, Mabel." The girl responded with a familiar hand gesture, and Gideon became furious. He leaped down and rushed at the girl who had skipped past the boy who had crashed on a tree behind her. "Well, I'm sorry, Gideon, but if you want it, you will have to go through my dead body," she said. Mabel said, "I'll deal with the living ventriloquist dummy, you go get the Y cipher piece," reluctantly, turning to her grunkle and winking before turning back to Gideon. Stan looked down, closed his eyes, nodded in agreement, and started to run after the piece, but Mabel stopped him by kicking him upwards. The girl then leaped up high and hit him again with a kick, this time downwards, causing Gideon to collide with the floor crater. She landed safely on the floor, expecting Gideon to get up and launch a counterattack. Sure enough, the boy got up and began to laugh, surrounded by a red aura. "You're a very bad girl," Mabel said, scowling at Gideon. "Do you really want your punishment that bad? The one who's going to get their punishment is you, especially after what you did to my brother years ago," Gideon replied, giving Mabel a smug smile. "That's what I promise you." In the meantime, Gideon regained consciousness at the Kia's woods, only to discover that he was chained to a trunk in the middle of the woods. "Where am I?" Gideon asked. "Look around, you better be careful, mortal." The boy felt a sharp pain on his head as he lost consciousness once more, and the Amba knockoffs from earlier entered his mind. The boy acted surprisingly calm, crossing his arms, knowing what to expect. "Oh man, I wonder who is it this time," Dipper said sarcastically. "It's me, stupid." The cipher beast laughed, either unaware or ignorant, at the boy's angry expression. "I can't believe you could be so foolish as to forget about me after just one night, especially after taking over your body and everything." "I was being sarcastic, which only makes you look even more foolish, thinking I would actually recognize such a thing." The boy rolled his eyes, and the cipher beast's single eye opened, and his body's light blue flames began to shine, illuminating the cage he was in once more. The cipher beast mockingly laughed and said, "Why would they even want the pieces, and for that matter why would they want to extract them?" The cipher beast remained silent for a moment before speaking in a serious tone. "You should think of something quickly because it won't be long before they try to take away the cipher pieces you absorbed me." "You are the one who took them using my body," Dipper complained, but it was in vain. Dipper gasped when he heard the response, "There are some things that are better left unknown, Dipper, and trust me, you would be horrified if you knew my origin. Even though my pieces are a very small part of me, they contain a tremendous amount of chakra that very few ninja have ever seen. Just one little piece can give a ninja enough power to rival one of the Hokages. And just how exactly did that happen? How did you came to be?" The cipher beast laughed for a moment after the question, his eyes turning red, and his voice echoing as he said his response. In a casual tone, the cipher beast said, "Allow me to do this. You wouldn't want to wake up only to see you being dissected like a fish either way." Dipper narrowed his eyes, not because of the implied response, but rather because he was experiencing a slight stomach pain that got worse over time. "What's going on? Why does it hurt so much?" "They must be starting the extraction process," he said. He then raised his arm, which became covered in light blue flames. Believed the cipher pieces were there, so he used a knife to open Dipper's stomach. Suddenly, Dipper's eyes, which had no pupils, sprang open, and light blue flame surrounded them. Dipper's entire body was then encircled by light blue flames, which instantly struck the knockoffs with enough force to send them flying to some nearby trees. Shortly after, Dipper's stomach closed up and returned to normal as if it had never been opened, and as the knockoff stood up, he used the last of the beast's strength to break off his restraint. "So who are you and why do you look like you?" asked Dipper. "I know I let myself be captured, but I didn't want to be gutted like a fish," with a little laugh. The Amba knockoffs removed their masks, and after that, the main leader approached the boy sternly, his knife covered in light red flames. "You don't have to ask any questions, just let us rip those pieces of the cipher off you, and if you survive, of course this had the expected level of success." Dipper took the knife, kicked the boy's knee, and swiftly performed a snake, right-pointing arrow ram, right-pointing arrow monkey, right-pointing arrow boar, right-pointing arrow horse, right-pointing arrow tiger hand combination. Fire release great fireball technique. Dipper expelled some foe his chakra, and it didn't take long for it to transform into a giant fireball that was hurled towards the raven-haired boy. Fortunately, the red-headed girl saved him just in time. First of all, what makes you think I'm going to cooperate with you at all? Dipper received an angry glare from the raven-haired guy, and second, you never responded to my question after the girl released him. The boy laughed a little before responding in a stern tone, I am Sasuk, last survivor of the legendary Ucha clan, former member of the now famous Team 7, and he who will become the next Hoka. Sas stopped once he saw Dipper. The moment you answered Dipper's name in a deadpan tone, Sas became enraged, screamed, and rushed towards Dipper. The boy activated his Sharingan, anticipating Sake's next move and counterattacking before he had the chance. As Sake regained his balance and landed on the ground, he looked at the boy more clearly so he could determine whether or not his eyes were lying to him. Dipper and the white-haired boy become a little concerned about it, while the orange-headed man appears unconcerned and the girl gazes dreamily. The Sharingan is a member of the Uchiha family, and only those who have had eye transplants or are members of the Uchiha clan itself possess it. That the boy really did have the Sharingan which greatly amused him is that the Sharingan he questioned with a slightly amused smile on his face. You could have offered it to you, but for that to work, the piece needs to contain the DNA or be crafted from the chakra of a clan member. I suggest that we collaborate since we share a family. His crazy reasoning was dismissed as Dipper appeared disinterested once more. Come on, you're ignoring me again, dude. If you go beyond the response I required for my query, I can't promise that I'll pay attention, and your reasoning is just absurd, so I have something that's presumably part of your family's distinctive items, so why should I use that as justification for working with you? You know what, I'm wasting my time talking to you, so I might as well tear that piece of the cipher off your body and call it a day. Sas raised his arm, which was encircled by light red flames. Now, remain motionless and don't bother screaming, this will end soon. You're right, Sas. Before it does, Dipper's arms are encircled by light blue flames, and both of his eyes acquire charging GANs with. It will soon be over, reptilian-like pupils, but for you, the red cipher piece was lying dormant at the outskirts of hidden gravity, glowing continuously a red color, and everything that came close to it was appalling. Stan was able to reach the cipher piece, get close to it, and then use the tattoo on his hand on it, which somehow managed to make the glow of the piece disappear. Alright, Stan, remember the process, get the cipher piece contained, and wait until the other cipher hosts have been removed. Stan took out a bag, grabbed it, put the piece in it, and ran as quickly as he could after hearing an explosion from the village. This time, the feminine hooded figure returned, but this time, he was accompanied by another familiar figure, Toby, whose lone Sharingan eye was visible through the hole in his mask. This is going to go smoothly, isn't it? Stan asked. Yes, definitely. At hidden gravity the battle between Mabel and Gideon intensified as Gideon used everything he had, including flying canes, sheer beacons, and light red energy balls that he threw from his palms. Mabel easily evaded all of the attacks and counterattacked when the window of opportunity came. The girl didn't react at first, choosing instead to avoid Gideon's attack and make fun of him before she landed on top of a building. You're right, Gideon, this battle cannot be won, Mabel said resolutely, drawing a kunai. Before hurrying to the boy, not by you, Mabel kicked Gideon in the stomach, causing him to scream in agony. As soon as he was able to regain his balance, the fat boy attempted to attack the girl by throwing a series of quick punches at her, most of which she easily deflected. When the chance arose again, Mabel kicked him in the stomach with enough force to stun him, and the girl pinned the boy to the ground before she removed some. The girl got up and scowled at the boy as she swiftly tied him with ropes from her pockets. "Now, before you're expelled from this place, I have 2 questions for you. Who gave you this power, and why are there red pieces of the cipher?" Beast asked Mabel, pointing her kunai at Gideon. The boy just laughed maniacally, which only made the girl even more irate. "You must do this, Mabel. All you need to know is that the prophecy will come to pass and the ninja," Gideon said, "the world will be conquered by its true ruler." As he flew high in the sky, tearing off the ropes with little effort, the boy's eyes began to glow a dark red. Just then, Mabel heard a familiar voice call out to her, "Don't let him catch it, Stan." The old man was heading back to the village, following the red cipher piece that was now flying towards Gideon. As he fell, hearing the words as clear as crystal, Mabel leaped up high and blocked the boy's path between Gideon and the piece, trying to stop the boy from. "Please, Mabel, make sure he doesn't get his hands on that piece inside the sphere." When the cipher piece collided with the girl, the two were engulfed in a light red ring that kept expanding until they were inside a light red sphere. Mabel looked around the sphere and saw that it was filled with dark red shadows that resembled ghosts flying around while there was disturbing laughter, some strange ghoul-like things walking around, and a concentrated orb made of darkness in the center. All of this was accompanied by a fiery background, and the solid floor that Mabel and Gideon stood on was made of rock. Mabel asked, surveying the area, before recalling Gideon and turning to face him, "What is this place?" Gideon explained, "It's a Een sphere that manifests when somebody gets in between a cipher host and a cipher piece of the in half of the cipher beast." Gideon gave the girl a sour look and said, "You will be a nice girl and get out of here so I can take what's rightfully mine, the Een cipher piece now." The girl moaned and narrowed her eyes as Gideon explained, "You see, we know the cipher beast giant huge chakra became your brother's soon-to-be activated bomb inside him." "Hold just a minute, what do you mean Een cipher piece?" questioned Mabel. The boy looked slightly surprised at her question, "And why are you so intent seeing that your petty little mind would not comprehend the complete version? I'll try to tell you what your chipmunk brain can let you understand. The cipher beasts are split into 2 parts, the Y half and the Y half." Behind Gideon, the kanji for Een appeared surrounded by light red flames, symbolizing the beast's feminine side, his passive abilities, and the concentrated darkness and negativity surrounding its story. After Gideon finished, everything changed completely, turning light bluish. The ghoul things in the center of the room remained intact, and the ghosts now appeared content. The young half, however, symbolizes the masculine side and the active abilities that the beasts use the most in the light and hope the creature possesses, which makes sense. The cipher beast uses the Y half more than the Y half, and very few even knew it existed until the first cipher host was made. The kanji vanished, and the area quickly returned to normal, with the humans now decomposing back into ghoul things and the ghosts returning to their unsettling forms. "It's my nature as a cipher host, a Een cipher host, to respond giddy before explaining or I should expose about the prophecy he mentioned earlier. The prophecy speaks about this divided in 16 pieces, 8 Een and 8 Yong, the corresponding cipher hosts. This will help you understand which part belongs to Y half, as the blue pieces belong to the Y and the red pieces belong to the Een. Did your brain get that? But it didn't answer why you want the piece so much, Gideon. We'll fight right away when they make eye contact, and the winter half will take control of the cipher beast. My master's plan must succeed, and with me inside, not only is your brother doomed, but the rest of your village is also unable to tolerate the boy's chatter any longer. Mabel grabbed her kunai and hurried at him with an angry expression, saying, I don't care what are your intentions nor who is your master, I'm not letting you get that piece. Gideon emerged from the sphere shortly after. The girl frowned and crossed her arms as he disappeared, and Stan walked to her. At least Gideon retreated, and hopefully we won't see him for a long time. Stan said, yes, but he has the red cipher piece, the Een cipher. Mabel, the sphere disappeared, revealing Gideon now with red skin, empty soulless eyes, and a dark red aura surrounding him. He had simply transformed into a more obvious version of himself. Come back here, you coward. After adding the piece, Mabel, the girl looked down and began to consider what she had heard. She turned to Stan with a questioning expression, grabbing his attention right away. Grunkle Stan, did you know that the cipher beast has Yin and Yang halves with Dipper and SAS? Dipper and SAS kept fighting, with neither boy appearing to be about to grow weary. Dipper pulled out some shans and charged them with the cipher beast's chakra, throwing them at Sake, who deftly sidestepped them before charging towards the child and punching him. With sufficient strength to send him flying to a wall, the boy jumped off and rushed at the teenager again, clashing in the process. What followed were several fairly quick clashes, with a few still images showing the two hitting and blocking each other in quick succession. It ended when Sake punched Dipper in the stomach, sending him to the ground and creating a small crater. When he fell, SAS went down with a slight chuckle. I advise you to leave, Dipper said as he arose, looking like a severely bruised pine tree. I then told him the cipher beast, and he rolled his eyes. In addition, that guy doesn't seem to be going to stop anytime soon, and you're not in the best of health, so tell me something I don't know. I can't escape just yet. What if his friends try to stop me from leaving? Dipper's response was, we need a distraction if we want to get out of here at all. After failing to avoid Saza's attacks until he was too weak to defend himself, SAS grabbed and lifted him. Then, with a malicious grin, he threw Dipper against a wall, building up energy on his palms, and ran towards him. His savage grin turned completely insane as he jumped and prepared to rip the cipher pieces off him. However, when he heard the shout, SAS somehow stopped in midair, and he and Dipper turned to see where it came from. They saw two familiar sights leaping from behind some pillars to the battlefield. Sakura Naruto, we finally found you, exclaimed the guy in the orange jumpsuit, Naruto, as he and the girl Sakura jumped down to the battlefield. Don't put your nos where it doesn't concern you, Naruto scolded Sake as he was ignored once more. Naruto then walked to the bruised boy and helped him get up. This is between the Prime Cipher host and me. I'll deal with this psycho. Now's your chance to escape, he said. This is between the Prime Cipher host and me. When Dipper patted his head and said, come see me at Hidden Leaf once you're feeling better. I might be able to teach you a few things that will help you in your journey. Whatever that is, nodding in response, Dipper ran to the exit, but for some reason, he was powerless to do anything but stand there and watch Dipper go, leaving Naruto in his place. Well, SAS, now it's between you and me. If you want to get to this little guy, you'll have to go through my dead body. Had just gotten there and were about to blow up the door when they noticed Dipper running toward them with Sakura close by. Let me take you to the Hidden Leaf, Sakura said to the boy, who smiled, because we have the best medical Nin over there, and she should be able to cure those pretty awful wounds of yours. The two stopped when they noticed the U in Pacifica outside, which caused a long silence during which everyone stared at one another while a tumbleweed passed by. Before SAS finished me off, this girl, Sakura, and a man in an orange jumpsuit were able to save me. They told Dipper what he was doing here and who those people were. They were the real Ano. We were supposed to come and get him before anyone else got you, but we got there a little too late, and you were taken by SAS. Yamato apologized and said, "If you follow us to Hidden Leaf we can guide you to Miss Sanade so she can help you recover." That's exactly what I was going to do. I'm taken to a place where, before he could finish, Dipper passed out. Sakura narrowed her eyes and leaped to Hidden Leaf, with the UO in Pacifica following her. After everyone had left, Toby appeared out of nowhere. "Looks like your little champion is in an inadequate state," Toby said mockingly. "Patience, Toby. He will be back stronger than he was before. This is the universal rule of healing," she said. When Toby finished, he opened his eyes to reveal light red irises with Sean's as pupils. Soon after, Granda and Toby were sitting near a cliff, staring up at the clouds and pointing at them. One of them caught their attention, and that was the one cloud Seuss went through. The girls fled before the man landed at their place. "The rest of the Y Cipher hosts will be chosen soon, I promise." When the girls got up and saw him again, they said, "Hello again, I think we never met properly." "What are you doing here?" asked Grenda as she and Candy walked to the man. "I saw in the news that a red cipher piece was falling straight to this place, so I came here as fast as I could to give you help." "Everything seems peaceful around here," Seuss explained, looking around at his surroundings. "But I did feel that it was too peaceful to be good," said Candy as Granda pulled out her giant shuriken. Another explosion was heard, and from this one, a shadowy figure leaped up high to the team, landing a few feet away and making the ground tremble a little. When the ground calmed down and the shadowy figure approached, it was discovered to be a heavy-built woman wearing standard Cloud Ninja gear. She also had a red cipher piece and a light red skura around her, but Seuss didn't really notice. Tone Shek Melody, an expert, Jan, and our teacher responded, "Candy, you have a teacher. Where do you think our powers came from?" "Granda," Melody said, "because we certainly didn't teach ourselves how to do them." "I don't want to do this, but I can't just get out of here with the cipher piece on your body," Seuss said, scratching the back of his head. "Can I ask you to get it out of your body or something?" Melody instead roared and ran towards the girls and Seuss the man. When the two had landed and were safely away, Seuss released the girls and pulled out a shuriken, which was the answer I expected. When he slowly opened his eyes, he saw that he was at a hospital with Sakura and a blonde woman sitting at a bench near him. A medical nin was also present in case something went wrong. "If anything went wrong, where am I at the hospital of Hidden Leaf? The woman near me is Lady. Taking care of your wounds," Tsunade told Sakura. "You should be better in a few hours, man. I'm starting to think the hospitals love me a bit too much. I'm starting to go here to recover more often than usual." Dipper laughed a little, and the room soon fell silent as he noticed that Pacifica, the blonde girl, was missing. She was led back to her clan, but they seemed a little upset with her for some reason. Tsunade Lady Tsunade told a woman with raven hair who entered the room, getting the blonde's attention, "We had some guests at the door." Two familiar faces were there, Dipper's grunkle Stan and his slightly older sister Mabel, who appeared anxious and ill. The girl ran to him, and the old man smiled. "Oh Dipper, you're all right," exclaimed the chocolate-haired girl as she embraced her brother tightly. The boy let out a howl of pain, and the girl said, "Sorry, I got too excited, thank you for coming guys. It took a while for Dipper to notice that two specific members were missing, Wendy and Seuss. Seuss went to assist Hidden Cloud, while Wendy went to her clan to protect it. Wendy responded to Stan in a harsh manner. They went to assist Hidden Cloud and the Corduroy clan. After some explanation, Stan and Mabel told Dipper everything that had happened while he was away, but you are probably already aware that red cipher pieces fell on hidden gravity, which could be bad news. Gideon holds one of them, which might also indicate even worse news. When asked if either of you were aware of those red cipher pieces, Gideon gave an odd response.